Okay, before we do what this video is all about the difference of two squares, I want to have a look at these numbers here. So some really important numbers, and we're going to keep coming back to these in the next few videos. So 1 is equal to 1 squared, 4 is equal to 2 squared, 9 is equal to 3 squared. So it's just a way to, or a different way to write these numbers. 8 is 2 cubed, 16 is 4 squared, 27 is 3 cubed, 25 is 5 squared. So really important numbers that you got to remember. All the way down to here is 216. Right, you can't see it. 216 is the same as 6 cubed. So we're going to come back to these numbers in the next few videos. So what this video is all about is this idea of the difference of two squares. So let's have a look at an example. So say we wanted to factorize a squared minus 1. Okay. So factorizing means writing as a product. At the moment we've got a difference. And we want to write this as a product. We want to write it as something multiplied by something. So this is like a formula up here, and it's a way that lets us factorize something that looks like this. So what this says is that if I've got something squared, so x squared minus y squared, or if you want to look at it like this, first squared, so the first thing squared minus the second thing squared, that's equal to the first minus the second, x minus y, multiplied by the first plus the second. So if we look at this example down here, we've got a squared minus 1. Well, if you remember, 1 is the same as 1 squared. So another way to write this would be a squared minus 1 squared. And now we want to factorize that. So I got to write it as a product. So we've got to figure out what goes in these brackets here. Well, in this case, the first is a, and the second is 1. So the first squared minus the second squared is the same as the first minus the second. So the first minus the second, so a minus 1, multiplied by the first plus the second, so multiplied by a plus 1. So a plus 1. So I factorized it. I started off with a squared minus 1 squared, and I factorized it. I've written it as something multiplied by something. Let's have a look at another example. So say we had, let's say 4x squared minus, let me say 16x squared, or 16y squared. So let's say we have this. So the first thing that we got to notice is these numbers. So 4, you can see, let me see, 4 is equal to 2 squared, and 16 is equal to 4 squared. So rather than write 4, I'm going to write 2 squared. So that's the same as 2 squared, because 4 is 2 squared, x squared, and 16 we know is equal to 4 squared, so that's the same as 4 squared y squared. Now rather than write 2 squared x squared, I'm going to put the 2x in brackets and I'm going to put the square outside. So that's the same as 2x all to be squared minus, and that's the same as 4y all to be squared. So now I've got something squared minus something else squared. I've got a difference of two squares, and we know how to factorize a difference of two squares. We can just use this formula up here. So the first in this 2x all to be squared minus 4y all to be squared, the first is the 2x bit and the second is the 4y bit. So to factorize that, I can just rewrite that as, I'm going to write it as a product, so it's going to be something multiplied by something. So first squared minus second squared, first is 2x, second is 4y, so it's first minus second, so 2x minus 4y, multiplied by first plus second, so multiplied by 2x plus 4y. So I factorized it. I've written it as a product. So I started off with this, which is a difference, and I wrote it as a product. This multiplied by this, written as a product. Let's look at a slightly harder example. Let's see, I'll just get it up here. So let's say we have, let me see. So I'm just going to write it there. So we want to factorize this. So factorize. I'm going to factorize, it's 5x plus 6y, so 5x plus 6y all to be squared minus x plus y all to be squared. So we want to factorize that. So again, if we look at that, we should notice that we've got the difference of two squares. We have a difference because it's something minus something. And the first thing is, the 5x plus 6y bit, and the second is the x plus y bit. So all I have to do to factorize it is, I just have to write, it's going to be first minus second. So the first is 5x plus 6y. And I know there's two things in there, but it doesn't matter because it's all of this to be squared minus all of this to be squared. So the first bit is the 5x plus 6y. So first minus second. So 5x plus 6y minus, and the second is x plus y. Now be careful there, it's minus all of the second. So it's minus x and minus y. So minus x minus y. So that's the first minus second bit. There's the first, there's the second, multiplied by the first plus the second. So the first 5x plus 6y plus the second. So plus x plus y. And I can tidy that up now a little bit because I can add like terms. I've got 5x minus x, so that gives me 4x. I got 6y minus y, so that's plus 5y. And then over here I've got 5x plus x, so that's 6x. And I've got 6y plus y, so that's plus 7y. So, okay, I started off with a difference here. This, which is the first, minus this, which is the second. And I rewrote it as a product. This multiplied by this. So I rewrote it as a product, something multiplied by something. And in order to do that, I use this, what's called the difference of two squares.